Hello and thanks for joining me. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at adding a button circuit to your Arduino circuit. In this case, when I mean button, I'm really talking about input, but we are going to use a push button from Tinkercad to make this happen. There'll be a separate video that walks you through the program that you need to make this button actually make this light do its thing. So let's get started. As you can see, I already have an LED ready to go. So I've already wired that up. And remember, this doesn't have to control an LED. This could be a servo or a buzzer, or in the real world with a real Arduino, all kinds of things. But we're going to work with this. Got a little circuit already ready to go. I'm going to drag a push button over and drop it in the valley, that channel that goes between the two halves of the breadboard. And then so we've got that as our home base. I'm going to grab a 5-volt wire. Look down at the bottom of the screen there. And I'm clicking so I can make some nice little turns here. And I'm just going to energize the bottom row of the breadboard with 5 volts. And I will change this to red to make it easier for you. Okay, so I can plug anything into this bottom row right now. Super helpful. And what I'm going to connect first will be our button. So it doesn't matter which pin I choose, but I'm just going to choose one right here. I like this one. And I'm going to click. And I've got a red wire that is bringing 5 volt to our button. Still not going to do anything, but we're building, right? Okay, next up, let's take a resistor. Now pay attention. Look how I'm lining this up with the opposite corner from my red wire. I'm going to the opposite corner and I'm going to line this up. And I want this resistor to connect to the ground row up here, right? It is going to provide a release valve for that 5 volts. When the button isn't being pushed, it gives a place for it to go to complete that circuit to ground. That protects the Arduino. This is a 1000 ohm resistor. I can tell because I'm looking right here. I would like it to be, let's go big, a 10,000 ohm resistor. So all I did was change that 1 to a 10, because if you look over here, we're on kilo ohms or 1000 ohms, 10,000 ohms. Yeah. All right. Next up, another resistor, if you please. I want to spin this so that it's laying on its side. So I'm going to click on it, and then top left corner of Tinkercad, right underneath the logo, there's the rotate button. Click it a couple of times. That was 3 times. And I'm going to drag it so it is also lined up with the opposite corner. You see what I'm doing there? But this is a 1000 ohm resistance. I'm going to knock it down to a 220. So let's change our drop down from kilo ohm to ohm, and we'll make our resistance 220 like that. All right, we're getting towards the end, friends. You're doing great. What I want to do now is I need to pick a pin from my Arduino that is going to be assigned to this input, to this button. And I'm going to go with pin 2, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up with the opposite end of that resistor, and I'm going to change it yellow just so you can see it stands out there. Okay, so that's your setup, right? If you're good with that, you can go do your thing. If you want to have some post-credit scene explanation, then stick with me and I'm going to walk through it. Great. We had already set up a ground wire that fed this top row. I could have assigned it down to this bottom row. It doesn't matter. I'm doing this only so that visually in our digital example, it's a little clearer for you. And also in the real world, some people prefer this style of circuit building so that you have 5 volt very clearly on one side, ground on the other. But you can choose your own, friends. It's totally fine with me. All right. Then I took the 5 volt, remember, and I powered up this whole bottom row. Now you might be saying, well, why not just drag the 5 volts and have it connect right to that corner, which we could do. But what if I want to use a second button? Then I could put a second button in here and also borrow that 5 volts. So sharing is caring, remember, just like we did with the ground. So lots of things can connect to ground, like our LED, like our drain resistor. I could connect lots of things to this 5 volt row here. Okay, so 5 volts travels across the bottom row, goes up. The button is sitting there waiting for someone to push the button. When no one is pushing the button, that 5 volts is going to go to the path of least resistance, which is to go out the 10,000 ohm, complete the circuit through the ground, and away we go. As soon as someone pushes the button, though, it's going to say, hey, I'm going through this 220, and I'm going to wait for the signal to be delivered to pin 2. In a separate video, I'm going to talk about how you set up pin 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever you want, so that it is the input pin for your circuit. And that's our story. Thanks for watching. I'll put links in the description to a screenshot of this circuit and also a link to the setup for the program itself. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.